This is the Smart Business Show, and today you're listening to or watching episode 100. We're going to talk to Matt Medeiros. We joke around calling him something weird because him and Tom McFarlane goof around about their names, or Tim McFarlane, which is what he prefers. And with Matt, we talk about marketing again because that's the theme of our month. And we talk specifically about the big marketing pushes and some of the lulls that he sees coming in the WordPress industry and what you're going to need to do to make sure that you're not caught up in it, so that you're still getting work consistently, that you're still landing those clients that you want. It's a really good interview. I had a lot of fun before and after talking, a little bit about dad stuff since he's a new dad, and I've got a little bit more experience in that with him. Enjoy the show. Today we are doing, I think it's episode 100. I think you're actually episode 100 on the show, Matt. I never thought about that. And we're talking with Matt. How does Tim McFarlane say it? Medeiros or something?
Yeah, he says Medeiros. It's Medeiros.
Okay. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Matt?
So again, Matt Medeiros. Focus primarily a lot on the WordPress space. Been running an agency with my father now, probably almost 8-9 years. We just turned into 2017, so yeah, it's been about that long. I do a lot in the WordPress sort of podcasting space. Focus my efforts there as well as part of my core business. And then we also do themes and plugins, which sort of help supplement the business. But a majority of the business is client services and providing WordPress solutions for our customers.
So what I want to talk to you specifically today was how Slocum Studio advertises for the beer clients. So can you give me an overview, a high-level overview of what kind of marketing you use?
Yeah. So it's a great question. It's a loaded question. We don't have an actual specific advertising or sort of like sponsorship plan. It's one of those sort of back burner on the to-do list things that we want to do for 2017. As most people know, in agency work, a lot of this stuff is referral, and our customers are referring us to obviously other customers. We do have some inbound leads, which is our secondary channel. And a lot of that comes through actually the podcasting stuff that I do. The podcasting stuff that I do for Matt Report, and now some of the tutorial videos that I've been doing on YouTube has actually started to generate a few leads. The tertiary piece of the inbound as well would be partnering with other agencies, right? Getting other exposing myself to other agencies and saying, hey, look at the work we do. Like, we're maybe just as capable as you, but we don't have as large of a team, and you're not going to take on that $10,000 or $15,000 project because it's just too small for you. How about you refer it over to us, right? That's been a strong point for us in 2016, end of 2015, most of 2016. I built up a few good channels with that. And again, if you spend any time in the WordPress space, there's also WordPress products out there that are very popular. I will say that's a small sliver of this client services work. So for example, and I think Curtis, you're also a consultant on the affiliate WP plugin. Yep. we'll get those requests from time to time, but I'm sure the ones that you see, the same things that I'm seeing, a lot of that stuff is like, there's no way we're going to touch this.
Yeah, I get a lot more with Restrict Content Pro and some of those types of tools, or WooCommerce, But yes, a lot of those, I view those as kind of medium value leads. They're clearly looking for something, and they typically have some budget. It's just often lower. And so I respond to a few of those, and I usually pick up, say, 1 or 2 clients a year. So for all the emails I see generating, a middle 5 figures worth of business out of it in a year is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we don't really, or I don't really close many deals on that. A lot of them, for instance, right before I got on this phone call, an email came through. Maybe you saw this from Affiliate WP, and the guy was looking for a 36-hour turnaround time. There's no way we're going to be able to squeeze that in our space. So, like I said, the channels of advertising and pulling in some of these larger clients is number one, referrals. Over the years, building up that portfolio and that recommendation list so that we get to the higher level client and being able to leverage that in a sales call. The inbound stuff is a lot of because of the content marketing that I do in the WordPress space, and in-person marketing too, and networking, things like that in the local market, going to events, that kind of thing. And then a small sliver, like I said, is that recommendation from maybe product companies, that kind of thing.
I want to second your thoughts around talking to bigger agencies or other, freelancers in my case, that do similar work, but not exactly the same. Like my friend Daniel loves building payment gateways or stuff like that. And I hate that with the Fire of a Thousand Suns, but he doesn't like, building themes at all. So we trade back and forth. He gets a gateway and I say, oh, you should talk to Daniel. And he's like, oh, you want a theme built? You should talk to Curtis. He'll do that. So it's a good referral back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we talked just before the show, and we said at the beginning you were looking at smaller clients. How did you make the jump in your marketing from the smaller to the bigger clients that you service now?
Depending on who's listening to this show, you can take my advice with a grain of salt. And if you're familiar with somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a very sort of energetic, sort of charismatic agency owner now. I mean, he owns a mega agency, maybe even 1,000 employees at this point. I don't even know. But ultimately, in the beginning, but I guess I should also stage this with, I came from car sales, not slimy, pushy car sales. It was a family business. It was 40 years worth of a family run business, working in the community and selling cars to people. So we knew what it took to land a deal, do the sale. We understood like how long a sales process was going to take. So that is to say, like, we didn't get burned out when we didn't make a sale. We knew it was tough. We knew we had to go back out there and find another customer, that kind of thing. So ultimately what we did is we started with anybody that we could in the beginning, threw out that huge fishing net, and then pulled in all those fish and said, is this one big? Good, we'll keep this one. Is this one too small? Well, we're kind of hungry this week, so let's keep it. And then as we got better, we would sort of throw the smaller fish back out, that kind of thing. And it was really about just building up some confidence. So this is my biggest tip for anybody who's sort of, especially a freelancer or boutique agency. You really got to have some confidence. You really have to know that, let's say you did a $2,500 project for somebody, but you knocked it out of the park. You were very profitable with it. The customer loved it. The whole process was, A+. You now have to take that experience and that project, put it into your portfolio, and have the confidence to say, you know what, that $2,500 project is worth $5,000 to somebody else, $10,000 to somebody else. And when that next client comes in, you sell that project, right? You don't talk about like the code stuff that you did or the feature functions. Like, you talk about the experience, you talk about how happy they were, and you raise the price 3 times, and you keep doing that, right? And that's where I was going with the Gary Vaynerchuk parallel. Is when he started his agency, it was like, hey, would you pay 10 grand for this? They said yes. So he says, and this is sort of paraphrasing, but this is out on the internet. He would go to the next client and he would say, would you pay 30 grand for this? And they said yes. So he says, I went to the next client and I said, it's 50 grand to do this. Would you do this? And they said, jump off a bridge. And he said, okay, no, I'll do it for 30 grand. And they said, okay, we'll do it for the 30 grand. So as long as you're now all of this is sort of wrapped up with a bow tie that says you're doing good work.
Yeah.
You can't be putting out junk to keep sort of elevating this price. You have to do good work. You have to care about your customer. They have to make sure that they can see that in order for them to say you are worth that kind of money. Has nothing to do with the code stuff. I mean, from my perspective, rarely, even our most technical customers ask us about our code standards, our code quality. We pitch it, we talk about it. But when we're in a project, they just trust us to get it done. It's not like line by line they're going to be reviewing this stuff later on. Or at least not a client I've come across yet. So it's really about the trust factor, getting the work done, and that's what sort of helps us sort of raise the price. And we're only as good as our last project, so we take that project in, we do the best work that we possibly can, and when the new client comes in that month, we say, look at this work we just did over here. Hopefully hopefully you enjoy that, and we can land this deal and work together.
Mm-hmm. So you said one of the big things is confidence, and I
hope that answers the question.
It does. I want to ask for a little specific marketing tactic. I was going to say confidence is a big thing. I remember the first time I tripled my prices for $15,000, was like terrified that someone would even why would I even send that? And I didn't even make it downstairs to tell my wife how scared I was before my phone told me I was paid, like the deposit. So confidence is a big thing. And my first thought was then, I was like, oh, I should have made it $18,000.
Exactly. That's exactly the thing that you start to run into.
Yeah.
Well, now there's one more thing with this. You can't just and you know this all too well, and I'm sure you've written about this too, is you can't just go from or the client that you get that $15,000 for, their expectations are going to be different than that client that you were selling to at $2,500. Yep. So yes, you can take that $2,500 work and experience that you did last month and then turn that into $15,000 this month. But guess what? That customer is going to have a different level of expectation. Again, not in your code quality and what you're like delivering feature wise, but meetings, communication, milestones, all of that support, making sure that everything is sort of, you got your white gloves on and you're doing it really, really well. That's going to change. So be ready for that. Yes, you can make more money, but you're going to learn something new on the back end that is about customer service when you get to that level. And I've bumped up against that too. So as we bumped up our finding new projects and stuff like that and going into the, $30,000-$40,000 range in 2016, what I've experienced is now people are like, okay, so when are you flying out here? And it's like, we don't really do any travel right now. These are like new things that I've sort of started to learn as I've gotten into the higher levels of projects. They expect you to fly out there, do a presentation, meet more people. And that's where I'm really starting to hit the level of, maybe I don't want to go too in these projects, right? Because it's just not something I care to do. It doesn't, I feel like I can still run a profitable agency without having to do all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's lots of clients in the, $15,000 to $25,000 range that don't necessarily expect it. And I find those clients in that range, like as I kept working with those and moving up to the higher end of that, they were like the least needy clients. They were the ones like, hey, I've got an issue, but it's Friday, so deal with it on Monday. Whereas like the clients I was charging like, whatever, $1,000 for this similar work, they'd be like, hey, why aren't you on this now? I know it's Friday at 5 p.m., but get on this. I expect this solved by 5:05. You're like, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I know it's church on Sunday, but hey, I expect you to be there. Like, why don't you have your laptop with you? I know you're supposed to have a kid today, but come on, let's get this. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So what's one, say, active marketing thing you'd suggest for freelancers to do as they look to scale up to big? So is that like starting a podcast or blogging or an email list or something along those lines?
I mean, for me, that's really what it's all about. So when you look at, and by no way am I sort of drawing myself to the same degree as a Gary Vaynerchuk, but if anybody who does follows him, he does this daily V show where he has a literal film crew follow him around. It's one guy, but there's editors and stuff behind in the scenes. Follow him around, record all this stuff like meetings and like meeting celebrities and sports players and going to other like big brand companies. And what he has like this passionate like entrepreneurial community that follows him because people are like, I want to be like Gary. But what he's really doing is leveraging all of this stuff to reinforce and to sell to his clients. It's not about the guy and gal that has a membership course or something like that. I mean, yeah, he caters to that. But what he's really doing is showing his big brands like, I'm walking the walk, I'm talking the talk. This is how you market yourself. 2017, I feel we're going to be much, and again, I'm speaking specifically in the WordPress bubble. I feel like things are going to get a lot more competitive. They already have halfway through 2016. And if you're not putting yourself out there, at the very least in doing some kind of consistent blog, you're going to, I don't want to say you're going to lose, but you're just not going to grow as fast as you probably could. Podcast, video stuff, that's what I'm all about. And so the Matt Report is over 200 episodes. It's just about WordPress. And none of my clients listen to it. Just like I'm sure none of Gary's clients really watch his show. They just know he does it. When I get an inbound lead and we're having a conversation and they say, why should I hire you? I give them this whole list of all the things that we've accomplished, what we've done for customers and all that stuff, what our technical capabilities are. And then I say, I also have the highest rated business podcast for WordPress on iTunes. You can search it. You can see my name. There's 200 episodes up there. I've got a whole YouTube channel of me talking about this stuff. So if you're not convinced by any of that stuff, then we're probably not going to be a good fit. Like if you're not convinced with what we talked about today, if you don't think that I can do what I do with all this material out here, we're probably not going to be a good fit, or try to find somebody else that you like better, right? So I use it as a sales tool. They don't listen to it at all, right? But I can say those things, as quaint as it is, and the customers go, oh, okay. If I'm comparing him to another WordPress shop, and feature for feature they're the same, but all of a sudden I look at 95-star reviews and 200 episodes on talking about WordPress, then let's hire this guy. And it's worked for me. I mean, yeah, that's it.
One big thing in video that I'll be doing this year with all of my clients, and started with my last clients last year, was to do a video kind of case study exit interview, which is excellent in talking specifically even about, okay, here was a tough part in the project. How do you feel that went? And getting them to talk about the tough part and how we handled it. And that brings in high trust velocity, because your prospects get to see that they're happy with you still, even though there was a tough spot. And it's great. It was a fun interview that I did, that I put up on my site, on my agency site last couple weeks ago. It was great.
It's a great idea. It's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it right, and you don't have to have this stupid microphone that I have and high quality microphones like you have. You don't need all that stuff. You just need to do it, right? You just have to get out there and start producing that kind of thing. Don't get overwhelmed. It's a lot of work, but try not to overwhelm yourself. Get a video out a month, or get a podcast out per month, and just start that now. And I'll tell you, I'm trying to do for my tutorial site. I'm trying to pull a page out of your book, Curtis, and I'm blogging every single day. I'm writing a tutorial every single day, and that was like my New Year's resolution. So we're on day 11. I've made one post per day. So I'm 10 for 10. I gotta do one today, and I am ready to pull my hair out. I'm like, why did I do this? But I'm gonna keep going, and it's getting easier every day. It's getting easier, and it really makes me, not pay credit, but just you do good work. I look at you and I go, who do I know that blogs a hell of a lot? Curtis McHale, Tom McFarlane, the Chris Lemons of the world. And I'm like, man, I really respect you guys a lot more now.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't respect you.
No. I find writing easy. It feels easy now, but it's been like, I have, 1,500 posts on my site now. And I've killed 2 sites since then that had like a couple hundred posts on there as well.
Yeah.
But yes, I now have, I don't blog every day on my site, but I have content coming out 3 times a week on my site, and generally 5 pieces of content public from some guest posting or podcast or something every week. So, yeah, but it is a lot of work. And it gets easier. Trust me. Now writing 1,000 words in 30 minutes, I find easy. I can do that. Yeah. But it did not start that way at all. Or writing all the emails I'm going to send for an entire month in half an hour. I can do that now. It took years to get to that point. Yeah. Yep. So is there anything else you'd suggest for marketing for freelancers or for people working in their agency?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest opportunity right now is taking everything that you're doing online, because it is getting harder. And I think we're in one of those sort of, I don't want to say downswings, but competition is rising online. Content marketing is huge. Creating videos, audio, blogs is great, but there's so much competition for somebody's eyeballs. Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, the elections, all this stuff. Take everything that you're doing online and bring that offline. Start doing either paid seminars, workshops, discussion groups, meetups, because that's I think what's going to happen, especially in 2017, is people are going to go, holy cow, this is really tough to do this online. I'm going to move to my local market and become the expert in my local market. And if you think doing it online is hard, when you start doing it in your local market, it's going to become even harder when there's more people doing that. There's only going to be so much attention for a local workshop. And if you can capitalize on that now, then you'll be in the lead for the rest of 2017. And that's actually one of the things I'm trying to set up for in my local space, because we're not in a major metro area. I'm an hour and a half south of Boston, Massachusetts. And, our cities, the 2 closest cities are 90,000, 120,000, in population. We're not in a major area.
Yeah, I'm 60 miles east of Vancouver, and I can tell when the farmers are fertilizing. Anywhere in town can tell. That's where I live. But I'm doing the same thing. I have it on my schedule. I want to speak at some event for some business or something twice a month all year. That's one one of my big goals on top of being on more podcasts to just get out there more, but get in front of people more. I think if you need clients today, the fastest way to get clients is to go out and start shaking hands, press the flesh. That's the fastest way, because it's the highest trust velocity, highest trust factor, right? Because you get to meet someone, you get to meet them in real life. And I know most of my coaching clients have said that the first time they heard of me, well, they say, oh no, we met you. Like, we saw you speak somewhere. That's how we did. And then I started, and some of them are like, if I look at their score in Drip as far as qualified leads, they're like 99. They're like the highest leads I get because they click on every email and they take action on almost everything. But because they met me.
And I would say that one of the key points that you just said right there is the people that you meet in person are going to be so much more in awe of you. Maybe that's not the best word, but online there's so many of folks like you and I, and if they sign up to your list, like you said, your Drip score might be like 60, and it's because there's so much of us out there online. But those people offline, the ones that you meet in person, I mean, they're going to be the ones that are like, wow, like this guy does stuff on the internet, I am going to follow him, right? Like this, he's putting out gold, because they're not in the same spaces as us, right?
No.
When was the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Today, right? So do it, get out there, and that kind of thing. So.
So is there anything or how do you find out more about what you do?
Best place to find out about what I do is mattreport.com. That's where I do the WordPress business podcast. YouTube.com/plugintut. That's where I do my live videos demonstrating how to use WordPress plugins. And if you're interested in learning how to start a podcast, we've got a field guide coming out. It's going to help you get it up and running within a weekend, not hours, not days. Podcast.win. WIN. Podcast.win.
Which should be up when this releases.
Yes. if it's not up, there'll definitely be a landing page. I'm co-authoring this book, and we gave ourselves 1 week to do this, and it's like we're halfway through, and along with the daily blogging and the podcasting, and I'm like churning away
and fitting in this interview as well.
And fitting in this interview, like I can't even feel my fingers anymore. I'm just smashing keys on the keyboard, kind of thing.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Curtis.
All right, I'll clip the recording there as I end recording anyway.